Welcome to Star Wars Characters Explained. Nihilus and Scion have both been covered, so it's time to explain the last member and founder of the Sith Triumvirate, Darth Traya, the Lord of Betrayal. To start off, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of her abilities and powers so that you can understand what made Traya so special. First and foremost, she was the master manipulator of her time in the same way that Emperor Palpatine was in his. The only thing separating the two was their ultimate goals, really. She manipulated almost everybody she encountered and only ever held two people in high regard, Revan and the Jedi Exile Mitra Surik. As both a consular and Sith Lord, she was gifted in almost every area of the Force. She adeptly used all of the basic powers such as Force Speed, Force Crush, Force Scream, Force Lightning, and of course Force Choke, but it was her understanding of more obscure skills that made her such a threat. She was a master of dark healing and severing people's connections to the Force. She could feel the presence of Force fractures, and she could communicate with people through telepathy across abnormally large distances. She could control people's thoughts in a way, and was a master of Force cloaking, which is a way of hiding your identity. On planets with powerful dark side nexuses, she was able to see into the future. She could even bring her body into a state where it would seem like she is dead, and this is known as a hibernation trance. When it came to hand-to-hand fighting, she used a physical double-bladed lightsaber and was proficient in most combat forms, and she was even known to have used the extremely rare Trikata lightsaber technique. When she lost her hand, she used a single-bladed green lightsaber, and when she was Darth Traya, she used 3 purple telekinetically controlled floating lightsabers to combat her foes. When it comes to her story, she is one of the most beautifully crafted characters in the entire Star Wars universe, and this has been recognised by multiple people. Her early years are unknown, but it is known that she was a Jedi Master and historian on the Jedi Council. Her true name is an actual mystery, and it is believed that Kreia was an alias. In her time as a Jedi, she chose not to use her eyes, but she meditated and found a way to see through the Force. She was relatively disliked by her colleagues on the council, as they saw her teachings as quaint, but the students who studied under her were mystified and intrigued. She posed extremely difficult questions to young Jedi that would go on to be known as Kreia's conundrums by her fellow masters, and one of these Jedi, known as Revan, was fascinated, and she became Revan's first official teacher. Before Revan went to war, he came to study under Kreia one last time. But during the war though, the council blamed Kreia's teachings for his actions and for the reason the Jedi turned to the dark side. So they denounced her as a Jedi, and Kreia silently left the Order. Now what happened during the time period of the Mandalorian Wars and the Dark Wars are unknown, but there are a few theories, and one of which I may go into detail for another video. It is known, however, that Kreia followed in Revan's footsteps, and she found herself at a mysterious place called the Traya's Academy at the heart of Malachor 5. Within this academy are a countless amount of Sith assassins, a force that Revan had secretly created before the Jedi Civil War. Noticing that she was Revan's former master, the assassins allowed her to pass, and they even offered her manuscripts of knowledge, believed to be made by an ancient Sith race. She became seduced by the manuscript's teachings, and announced herself as Darth Traya, the Lord of Betrayal. She also began to believe that Revan never truly fell to the dark side, and that his actions were part of a greater cause to protect the galaxy. So she aimed to continue Revan's legacy, and reignited the Sith Order in the Traya's Academy, training a new generation of Sith. The remnants of Revan's empire also flocked to her side, but this was all a ploy, a gadfly. She found the Force wound Darth Nihilus and Darth Scion and taught them to harness their abilities, becoming their master. The three formed the Sith Triumvirate as a means to destroy Traya's Jedi betrayers, but the two apprentices became disillusioned by her teachings and her constant belief in Revan's legacy, and so they cornered her. Sion then destroyed her physical will, and Nihilus stripped her from the Force, but she escaped Malachor, broken and full of vengeance. She had been betrayed again, now by the Sith as well as the Jedi, and Traya began to despise the Force, which actually fueled her hatred, viewing it as a conscious entity that controlled the destinies of all living things. She saw it as an evil sort of deity, an evil god, and she sought to destroy it at the source. As Sion and Nihilus began to eradicate the Jedi Order, the Jedi went into hiding, allowing Traya to enact her plans in completely deafening the entire galaxy from the Force. So she returned once more as Kreia, hidden in plain sight by Force cloaking, and then she devised a plan which would involve one of her former pupils, Mitra Surik, who had cut off her own connection to the Force, something Traya was fascinated by. She found Mitra aboard the Harbinger and took her aboard the Ebon Hawk after she was sedated by a HK-50 assassin droid, but the ship was attacked by Sith, so Kreia used hibernation trance to make it seem like she was dead, and T3 emergency docked on the Paragus mining facility due to extensive damage. The miners put Kreia into the morgue, while Mitra was put into a Kotor tank to recover. In this hibernation state, Kreia used a small amount of Force energy that she had left to create a Force bond with Mitra. Mitra had unknowingly leached the Force energy of the miners while she was unconscious, who were being killed by the HK-50 assassin droid. This allowed Mitra to slowly feel the Force again, and this in turn, because of the bond, allowed Kreia to slowly reconnect to the Force too. When Mitra found Kreia in the morgue, she revealed herself to be not dead, and Kreia revealed to Mitra that she rescued her on the Ebon Hawk, but it was attacked by a Sith, and that they needed to escape Paragus immediately. With the help of Mitra and the scoundrel Aten, they managed to get to the Ebon Hawk, but before they could escape, they were intercepted by Darth Sion. Sion easily saw past Kreia's Force cloak and became enraged that she had chosen to help Jedi. He chopped off her hand, but she managed to escape Sion. But as this happened, Mitra felt the pain, and when Kreia met with Mitra, she manipulated her into believing that the bond was fatal if one or the other died, as a means to ensure that Mitra protected her on their journeys. They arrived on Telos, and Kreia began to slowly help Mitra reconnect to the Force. She also taught Mitra some of her own personal beliefs that the galaxy was not bound by good and evil, and that helping others may not always be the right thing to do. When they found the secret academy on Telos, she cloaked herself from the former Jedi Master Atris. It was also here that she manipulated Aten into following Mitra without question, after learning about his dark past. Once they left the academy, thanks to T3, they learned about the remaining Jedi Masters' locations. Kreia convinced Mitra to find them as a means to discover why and how she completely disconnected herself from the Force without dying. As more people came to Mitra's side, she manipulated most of them into serving her with complete loyalty, as a means to keep her safe. And as she travelled to find the Jedi Masters, Kreia was manipulating general events. Not only was Mitra drastically strengthening the Republics, which was something Kreia wanted, she was creating Force echoes across all of the planets she visited. It was Kreia's intent to use these echoes as a means to deafen the galaxy to the Force. After finding the majority of the Jedi Masters and training Mitra even further, they finally travelled to Onderon to find the final Jedi Master Kavar. When they crashed on Duxon, she blackmailed Mandalore into helping Mitra with anything in return for information about Revan. She then got involved in the civil war on Onderon. Mandalore, Kreia and Mitra attacked Onderon after it was taken over by insurgents who were secretly being controlled by Nihilus. After killing Tobin, who was trying to siege his way into the throne room, they helped the Queen defeat the insurgents and convinced Kavar to join the other Masters on Dantooine. Kreia, manipulating things as she always was, used dark healing to revive Tobin, manipulating him into believing she supported Nihilus and the deceased insurgent leader Vaklu, and she told Tobin to convince Nihilus that there was a Jedi temple on Telos full of tasty Jedi to eat. After they finally met with the Jedi on Dantooine, Mitra was told by the Masters that she was draining the Force of others unknowingly, and that she disconnected herself from the Force as a means to stay alive after her actions on Malachor. The Masters then tried to sever Mitra from the Force, fearing her as a wound and her skill to drain people. But Kreia stepped in, after secretly listening. After learning the truth, she berated the Jedi for being blind to it, and announced herself once again as Darth Traya. She revealed her plans to the Jedi, as well as Mitra, and then she killed the Masters using the very thing they feared. She severed their connection to the Force and drained them. She then went to Telos to convince Atris that she had turned to the dark side. Her conquest to defeat the Jedi that betrayed her was won. Nihilus attacked Telos, but he discovered there was nothing for him to drain there. Mitra returned to help after her ordeal in the Jedi Temple. She then attacked his flagship, the Ravager, with the help of the Mandalorians. They easily defeated him though, as he weakened himself trying to drain another wound in the Force. Mitra then went to the Telos surface and redeemed Atris. While Mitra was preoccupied with Nihilus, Traya returned to the Academy on Malachor to enact the final stages of her plan. She also put Sion in his place, who had also returned to the Academy. She convinced Sion that he was nothing but a slave to her and the Force, and bent him to her will. With both of the Sith that betrayed her defeated as well, she waited in the core of the Trayus Academy for Mitra. She intended to have Mitra witness her ultimate final plan, but Mitra intervened, defeating her. It was here that she realised that Mitra was her greatest pupil, and felt some comfort knowing that her teachings would, in some way, be passed down through Mitra. She also gave Mitra one last gift, giving her a glimpse into the future, allowing her to know the futures of her companions, the Republic, and Revan's whereabouts. She then died from the wounds she received in battle with Mitra, and her body was lost in the planet's core after the mass shadow generator was reactivated for the final time. And so came the end of the Lord of Betrayal. Some people believe that the entity in the Sith warrior storyline in the Old Republic that's being controlled by Darth Barris is the ghost of Kreia, but that's pure speculation, and if it is, it's a complete disrespect to the incredible character that Kreia is, and I honestly don't buy it. Now I bet after all of that you're pretty confused, right? Yeah, it's understandable. I would be too if I never heard anything about her before. Was she good? Was she evil? Something in between? How was she trying to kill the Force? What were her goals? And even today, people are still debating what she was actually trying to do. There's so much to Traya's character, and it's simply brilliant, and it's written perfectly. Now if you're interested, I'm going to give you a more cohesive rundown of her motives in another video, so be sure to subscribe so you're notified when that's out. I chose not to put it in this video, as this video is purely an explanation of her powers and her story. For me, Traya is one of the most incredibly written beings in the Star Wars universe. Her mystery and intrigue during the game makes her extremely fun to interact with. She questions the Force in ways that really no other character has ever done, and not just the ideas of light and dark, but the actual concept, the actual Force as a whole. Not to mention that Sarah Kestelman provides one of those performances that is just career-defining. It's incredible. Unlike most characters who were subject to a lot of cut content, Traya didn't get that. She was well developed. She had goals, she had motives. You really had to listen to every single word she had to say to truly understand her. I mean, of course, Like every single story, there are things you want to know that you aren't ever going to know. But she is why Knights of the Old Republic 2 is such an incredibly crafted story. If you enjoyed this video, I'd be really grateful if you could give it a like. Also, if you want to talk to me directly, make sure to follow me on social media. And if you're interested in seeing more, perhaps consider using your Force powers to subscribe. I'll see you guys soon, and in the meantime, may the Force be with you, always.